This is the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, and we're here to build autonomous athletes and put phenomenal programming into every garage, basement, and spare bedroom out there. I'm Jerred Moon, and I'm with Joe Courtney. We are strength and conditioning coaches who have turned over 20,000 people into garage gym athletes over the last decade. And we're here to reduce the information overload that exists in the health and fitness industry today. We're going to do that by covering relevant science and give actionable takeaways, not only from the data, but from our years of experience. So let's dive in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
How you doing, man? Had a strong run today.
You had a strong run?
Pretty good, at least.
Well,
I tried something new, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, okay. Before we get into that, I just immediately wanted to hear about it. But just for anyone listening, I want to let everyone know what we're going to kind of cover today. Of course, we'll start with some updates, training-wise, just what's been going on with us. Then we will get into a study, and this isn't like a typical study to where Joe and I have like researched it. Really, just I researched it, and I want to surprise Joe with the information, and then also surprise all the listeners. So we're going to go over a study. This study specifically is about how science says weight loss doesn't work, or exercise for weight loss doesn't work. Sorry, weight loss is a thing. It is not Santa Claus. And then we're going to briefly talk about cycles for Garage Gym Athlete, because we're right at the start of a new cycle per this recording, and I'm sure people want to know a little bit more about what's going on. So we're going to be talking about that and what we're doing there. So let's start with your run. I want to hear all about it.
So first I'll ask you a question, because you have a Garmin.
I do.
And whenever you go to run, it always comes up with those suggested runs. I don't know if you can turn those off. Have you ever tried those?
I mean, maybe one, like one in the years I've been wearing a Garmin, but I had an idea. If we weren't obviously doing what we're doing with Garage Gym Athlete, I wanted to just try that as an experiment and be like, I'm only going to do what Garmin tells me to do every day and see where my fitness ends up. But no. So is that what you did?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you only do what they tell you to, you're running every single day. I had
that's all there is.
Yeah. Well, I had it hook up to if you have a certain depending on your concept to bike or monitor, it'll connect to that. And then after I did that, because there was one at the gym, it started giving me bike suggestions. So that was kind of cool. Anyway, yeah. I was just like, I'm gonna run today, and I turned it on. I was like, okay, let's see what this workout is. And I saw it, and I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just do it. Because Liz said she did one last week, and she liked it. It was way different than mine. But today was essentially like run a mile as like a warm up, and then go straight into what turned out to be a 5K at like 85%, and then a cool down mile. And so that was kind of hard, but it was good, I guess.
And I think it would actually work out. So if I feel like we just like, can you reach out to Garmin, send them an email, and let them know like we will officially become sponsors of. They can sponsor
them down for a while.
Yeah. So, but one thing that's cool about the Garmin, and we are not sponsors, we're not paid to talk about Garmin, but they like monitor your training load, right? And then they see how much base training you're getting, high aerobic threshold, and then like sprint interval. They have like these three. It's almost like they're tracking your zones over the course of 30 days. And I think that's how they're suggesting workouts. So like if you're lacking that top end zone 4 work, then it's always going to be suggesting threshold runs for you. And then if you have too much zone 4 work and not enough zone 2, it's going to be suggesting a bunch of base runs for you. So it's actually a really cool like system that they have. But yeah, I've always considered following it, but I actually look at it every time, because every time I hit run to go on a run, it's like, here's our suggested workout for you today. And they look nasty most of the time. It's like, we want you to do thresholds with like 9-minute runs at zone 4. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to do what I have programmed today.
Yeah, it was pretty much what mine said. So it was definitely hard up there. I was in the red for a good chunk.
Yeah. And I know when I was in the thick of the ultra marathon running, it'd be like, we suggest a 28-minute base run today. And I'm like, well, I'm running for an hour and a half. So your suggestion sounds way better than what I'm actually doing. Cool. Training for me, same old. We were talking about your hot basement. You have a hot basement and you're worried about your electronics. And you know what's crazy is I've been a garage gym athlete for a long time. I mean, like over a decade now. And um, my equipment has been fine being in the garage. Like I've never really gotten like stuff that's like super rusty or like nothing's been ruined from like heat as far as I know. Like, but for some reason, the last year in my, so I just moved, but the last year in my last house, everything just went downhill. Like I, my barbells started to rust, even the stainless steel one.
Hmm.
Um, and then my like concept 2, some of the machines, the bolts on there were like rusting. I think I lived in this weird like bubble of humidity at that house because it's not like I'm new to Texas, right? It's not a new, and I've had all this equipment in Florida, by the beach. So it can take its toll, like being a garage gym athlete. Like at some point, can a garage ruin your equipment? Is that a concern? Is that a concern you have?
I've had mine all kinds of places. When I first had one, it was outdoors in San Diego. So I mean, there was humidity was okay there, but it was still outdoors the entire time, so it still kind of got rained on. And I
Yeah.
was um putting like corrosion control on it. And I got a brush. I haven't brushed mine in a while, and then it was in storage for 2 years. I don't know what the conditions were for the storage unit that it was in for 2+ years.
Was
I
that
did
like
notice the
a
other day.
climate controlled storage unit or just like out in
I have no
the
idea. It's
wilderness?
I assume it was climate controlled. It's whatever the military puts it in. We didn't actually put it in. It's
Probably not climate
they stored it.
controlled. Yeah.
I think it is because we also had like TVs that went in there.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I just noticed the other day that mine's starting to get a little bit rusty because I haven't done anything with it. All I got to do is brush it and then spray it. But my barbells are good. I've never cleaned my rower, which I probably should clean it and grease
Yeah, I
it.
think
I
I've
know.
I've cleaned the chain like 3 times. I used to be way better about that stuff, and then I don't know. At some point, you get so many responsibilities with 3 kids and like everything. It's just like, well, something's got to go. It's like it's going to be cleaning my Concept 2 chain. That might be the thing that I'm not doing today. But yeah.
Yeah, I meant to look up like how often you're supposed to clean it. Like whether it's
Oh,
per
if
if
you
you have
read the
100
Concept
days
2
per.
manual, it's probably like every
Oh,
30 days. They're like,
oh,
yeah, disassemble and like to maintain manufacturer warranty,
use our
grease and
proprietary
oil
oil.
change. Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, anyway, I gotta knock the rust off. No pun intended of some of these machines, try and get them in tip top shape. Because a lot of them can be stored inside now. Because I have an indoor gym and outdoor gym. So
Whoop,
when
whoop. Yeah. So if you just clean your chain once now and then put
yeah,
it inside,
then
and
I'm
then you're
done.
good.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about it anymore. And the amount of things that had just like cobwebs, spider webs, like my last garage was, I mean, it was basically outside. It was not like animals lived in that garage. It was just a crazy, crazy situation. But we can move on. You wanna hear about this study?
No, just kidding. Yeah,
He's like, nah,
because
not
I think I
really.
saw something about it on social media not long ago, and so yeah.
Okay, I want to talk. Anybody who's trying to lose weight or knows somebody who's trying to lose weight. So there was a study, and I like to link stuff. Um, and the title of the study, published June 21st, 2024. So that's pretty recent. Says no evidence for metabolic adaptation during exercise related energy compensation. Okay, so half of the participants, so this is a 24-week study. Hold on. I'm not going to get into all the details there. I just want to kind of cut to the chase since we're not doing our typical thing. So this study found that exercise related energy compensation often counteracts the calories burned during workouts. So in the study, half the participants didn't lose the expected weight because their bodies became more efficient conserving energy elsewhere. So for example, your body might compensate by reducing spontaneous physical activity, or what we like to call in the industry non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT. Most personal trainers or coaches know what NEAT is. And so think fewer fidgeting, less walking around, and generally becoming a couch potato when you're not exercising. This is something your body is doing subconsciously. Just think about how annoying this is. So if you have a pretty good workout this morning, subconsciously, your body's going to reduce NEAT. So this like if you're normally sitting at your desk and you're fidgeting your leg, or like you just want to get up and walk around, these are things that your body's doing to try and burn a certain amount of calories every single day. This is subconscious activity. And what the science is saying is that when people exercise and they burn 300 calories in the morning and their body's not accustomed to it, their body will be like, "That's fine, but now we're not gonna do all this other crap that we had planned for you today." It's like that's how annoying your subconscious is and how much your body wants homeostasis. It does not want things to rock the boat. And this is true when we've talked about fat loss in the past. So there's other studies that state our bodies do the exact same thing, like with burning fat specifically. It says burn if you burn fat during a workout. So like a zone 2 workout, we all know is kind of that fat burning zone. And say you just crushed it, you did a 2-hour zone 2 workout, you burn all this fat, your body will then try and conserve fat for the rest of the day. It'll be like, wow, you just burned a lot of fat. Your body doesn't know what the hell's going on out there. It's like you're in a dark closet. Like, it doesn't know what's going on. And so then it's just like, all we know is you took a lot of our fat stores. That's scary. We like having fat stores for energy reserves when we need it. So for the rest of the day, we will conserve fat. We won't let you burn any of it. We'll make you burn more carbohydrates when you move. So this is, a little bit disheartening, right? Like, this is like, it's saying you can start to try and do all the things that you need to, but your body is going to counteract you even at a subconscious level to try and keep homeostasis and keep things the same. Now, I have some ways around this, some ideas. So don't worry, I'm not going to leave you with like, yeah, basically, if you are trying to lose weight, you're screwed. We'll talk about like getting into it. But what are your thoughts on that? Just hearing that, Joe, like your body is really out, doesn't want to work with you, wants to work against you to conserve what the typical is.
Well, from a lot of the studies and books and nutrition things we've read, is that the human body adapts and is very efficient and is going to try to do, I guess, the least resistance path as possible. So it's going to be trying to be the most efficient that it can. So it's going to adapt with you or overcompensate or whatnot. Did the study say that they were I might have missed it, if they were untrained or trained, or how many people they looked at for that? Or
I believe they were untrained to a certain degree. These were not like athletes. Let's see.
yeah, so I'm just curious that, like, if you have people that, I guess, since the goal was weight loss, it's probably untrained, and it's for people that are looking to get on this weight loss thing, so that when they do work out in the morning, they're sort of tipping the scale in the other way, that they're going to be much more sedentary, or things are just going to work a bit slower. I wonder, I wonder if it changes people's digestion, like if they are going to digest slower, or like, because usually when you, I don't know if
Yeah,
that,
like how
um,
much does your body change like at the subconscious level?
yeah, like
Um,
if your metabolic rate is going to change like at that as well, like if it fluctuates to what you're burning, and like maybe if and if that changes the longer you train, so that like if you train a lot, your body is probably adapted to be more efficient, so that maybe it does run somewhat normally, but when you're first working out, maybe it's going into like, whoa, hold on a second, we're gonna back down because we're not used to this.
yeah. Well, and the title of the study is "No Evidence for Metabolic Adaptation During Exercise-Related Energy Compensation." So it's saying that it's quite a bold study, in all honesty. I mean, this is not a systematic review or a meta-analysis, so like, everybody keep your pants on. Like, it's not that crazy, but at the same time, we're not headed in the right direction. And I think, in all honesty, it just shows you how stubborn it can be to lose weight. Like, I had a family member reach out to me recently, and they were like, "Hey, I basically stopped drinking calories. I've been exercising every single day and drinking nothing but water. Like, really paying attention to my diet, and they've been doing this for 2 months, and they're like, I lost like 2 pounds. Like, what's going on? And um, it's a stubborn thing if you need to lose weight. Like, it is very, like, the reason people find it so hard is because of how much change. I think to actually induce metabolic change or adaptation is so much harder than people think. So it's not actually just exercise. So exercise is amazing. and I try to talk about this anytime, but like exercise is very beneficial for all these other things. Like we could talk about blood flow, we could talk about mental benefits, we could talk about um, like the cognitive benefits, like mental health and cognitive. Like there are all these other reasons that you should exercise, but then there's also the weight loss side of it, like we're staying in shape. But even to your point of trained versus untrained athletes, I bet if you or I at this point wanted to make a significant change in our body weight, it would be very, very hard to do so. Like, cause I've been at this like 190-pound range for a long time now. If I was like, you know what? I think I'd rather sit at 180. That sounds better to me. I bet that'd be incredibly hard. Like, I bet I could get to 180 just because of my knowledge. But then I think just like sticking at 180, I bet my body would like force hunger signals and like all these things to where I'm like naturally creeping back up to that 190. I'd have to get down to 180 and then maintain that for probably a year and a half before my body's like, fine, you win. We'll stay here. Like this is it. This is the new change. Um,
And the
but yeah,
opposite too of like gaining 5 to 10
oh
pounds
yeah, gaining
of muscle,
is
not just
incredibly hard and keeping
creatine
it.
blow up. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I actually was just talking about that with some friends last night. Because we were talking about they were really big into fitness, and I was talking about how I used to always bulk and like do all this stuff. And they were asking like, what's the heaviest you'd been? And I was like, I think I got up to like 210, 215. And that was in college, right before I went to basic training for the military. Like when you're in ROTC, you go to basic training in the middle of college. So like after your sophomore year, you go.
Sophomore year, yeah.
And so I went and I went from so I wasn't at my heaviest then. I think I was at like 205 or something like that. All muscle. I was just like, all I ever wanted to do was bulk, but somehow I could still run a 9-minute mile and a half. Like it was insane times. Really enjoyed college, but I, uh, I came back from basic at like 172 pounds. Just think about how much my body was like, thank God you're not force feeding yourself. And it just shed muscle, water, like everything. I came back and Emily was like, oh my gosh, like what happened to you? You look like emaciated almost. And that's not long. It's not 6 months of basic training. It's like 12 weeks or
4
something like
weeks,
that. It's
right?
not
Yeah.
like
Oh, well.
yeah. Oh no, no. It's I think it's 10 weeks. It's 10 weeks or something like that. It's nothing crazy. And so that's an insane amount of weight to lose that your body just doesn't want. But let's get out of the hey, your body's out to get you. Like, what can you do about something like this? And I just want to help anybody who's trying to lose any weight whatsoever, because it's not as complicated as you think. So first thing, you need to get away from this mentality of like, I did a really hard workout today, I deserve anything, right? Like if you did Murph this morning, it doesn't mean you get to sit around on your couch and do nothing for the rest of the day. You have to like in your best attempt maintain what a normal day would be and then also train. Never make any sort of like concession because you trained. Be like, because I trained today, I will sit down more or I will not do something else. Like you can't make those decisions. Or if you used to go on a walk every day, but you weren't really training, and then you start training, you're like, well, I'm not going to do the walk anymore because I'm exercising in the morning. Again, you're not going to lose weight. You have to be doing more. And so my best recommendation for people is if you have a step tracker, whether that's a Garmin, I don't know if Whoop does it, Apple Watch, whatever. You need to look at like your historical baseline for like the last 6 months. So, for example, let's say every single day of your life for the last 6 months, on average, you got 8,000 steps per day. I think that's pretty decent for most people, just fairly whatever, active, 8,000 steps a day. Say that was your average over the last 6 months. And then you're like, I want to lose weight. I'm going to start an exercise program. You need to do the exercise program. And then you also need to get 8,000 steps per day or more outside of the exercise program. Because I've had really hard workouts, like in gym workouts, and still finished my day with like 3,000 steps before. I've done that. Like incredibly hard training session, but it's like a strength session, right? And I feel dead. But then I look at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, how did I get 3,000 steps today? That's like nothing. And it's because I was so tired from that workout. My body did that exact thing. It like compensated subconsciously. I didn't even know I did it, but I started to pay more attention to that. I'm like, no, if I do a hard workout, I still need to get like 10,000 steps. And so I'm actively trying to get those things. So building a little bit more activity into your day, going on that extra walk that we talk about in the EO3 elements, or doing a push-up grid, or like, just adding more activity. So point being, get your baseline. If it's 8,000 steps per day or the last 6 months, add the training and then never get less than 8,000 steps. So what you're doing is you're maintaining that baseline that your body wants and has been accustomed to over the last 6 months, and then you're adding something new. Now we're adding on top of that. We're not compensating. We're not saying, okay, big workout, I can take fewer steps. It's no, just as many steps as you've always been taking plus the workouts. Then the weight loss will probably start to work for you, so long as like the diet and caloric deficits there.
Your numbers were pretty much spot on. I looked at the past year, my daily average was 8,500, and yesterday was just a regular strength day, and I was at home and I only got like 4,000 steps.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I pay attention to those things. I try to like, I mean, I'm not like at the end of my day, I'm like, oh, I didn't get 10,000 steps, I'm going to walk more. But I am more mindful of those things. And I got my oldest son, he got a Garmin, and now he like challenges me to like step goals all the time. So, because you can do that in Garmin. If you have like, if your friends in Garmin,
Oh
see
no.
again, just please email Garmin, let them know. But then, anyway, you can like challenge somebody to a step goal just for that single day, just for like a day, and he'll
I
like
think I've
normally ask
only
me. He'll be like, "Are you running tomorrow?" I was like, "No, tomorrow's a strength day." Then he'll send me a request to challenge me to step goal. But if it's running, he's like, "Nah, I'm good," because I'll have 10,000 steps before 7 a.m.
yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah. I would challenge you, but like Liz and I, because we go on so many hikes, or just whenever we travel, we're always like throughout the day, how many steps you got? How many steps you got? Because curious about how much it's counting for the distance that we're walking. And she's always going to be a couple thousand ahead of me, because she's tiny. She's got little strides.
yeah. That's what I
So like
tell
if
my
she
son all
can,
the time. Like, this isn't fair. This is like you're taking 4 steps for my one step. Like, he can't. It shouldn't count. But I still challenge him
yeah,
anyway.
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So just something to know, because I saw a lot of people like, yeah, I saw people post about this on social and everything else, but I feel like the solution is a lot more simple than people thought. It's not like, oh, exercise doesn't work. There's something wrong with exercise. It's all diet. It has to be all diet. It's like, no. Yeah. I mean, diet's a huge part of it. Yeah. There has to be a caloric deficit. I'm just saying it's not like, don't let anybody else use this as some sort of scare tactic to make you think one way or the other. All that's happening is your body loves being in balance, and you have to force it to be out of balance for 3 to 6 months. And that's where change really comes. And that's where weight loss will happen. So that's a very simple equation. We've been able to calculate these things for people. But this is like not even getting into the weeds of doing all these kind of calculations, or going into and doing, uh, a calorie calculator, like how many calories you burn a day, because those can be wildly inaccurate. Like, we've talked about that over the podcast. So I think putting it down to like, how many steps are you doing? I'm doing 8,000. Okay, start working out. Still get 8,000 steps or more. Now you're actually going to lose some weight. Just don't let any compensation happen.
Yeah. My takeaway was definitely, there's just no free passes. If you want to,
Yeah.
even if you want to indulge in something after a really hard day, a really hard workout, cool. But don't think of it as, oh, well, I did this hard workout, so I can eat this donut. I deserve this donut. No, just if you want it, indulge in it. Know that it's not that great, but it's going to happen. This coming
Yeah.
from like whenever listen, I would go hiking on the weekend and do like a hard hike. We would come down and we'd go out for burgers, and like that was our thing. And like it wasn't like, oh yeah, I earned this because we just burned those calories. It's, hey, I enjoy a burger and we just did something fun, so we're just gonna have it anyway.
Yeah. That's what is so funny, man. When I first did Murph, the very first time I did Murph for a year, I started off the first, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks. I'd have a beer right after that Murph, like after Murph. Um, and one beer would turn into like 3 beers. I don't really drink anymore, but like back then I did. And it was like, I'm like, this, I only did it for about a month, when I'm like, I can't like have 3 beers after every Murph. Like, that's not, that's not going to work out like long term. But it would just felt like such a reward, right? For like having done
Yeah.
such a hard workout. And then, that was a mistake. But anyway, I corrected that one pretty fast. But another thing, and this is another funny like story. I was hanging out with these friends, and like she actually has she's a trainer. She's trained lots of people. She trains women primarily. And she was just talking about how some people come into her training and they have like their non-negotiables, right? Of like what they won't live without. And one, she started working with this one woman, and she was like, "Well, my non-negotiable is wine and nerds." And she's like, "Well, like, what are we talking about?" She's like, "Well, 2 to 3 glasses of wine and like a giant box of nerd candy every night."
Good
And
lord.
I was like, "What are you talking about? Non-negotiable? Like, how is how is that like? We can't help you. Like, if these are like your flags, your stake in the ground, that's like just you're not gonna get what you want. So, like, what you're saying about the no free passes is like hilarious. People hire coaches and they're like, okay, I hired you. Now become a magician. I want to drink 3 glasses of wine every night and eat a family sized box of nerds, but I still expect to
Sure,
lose
sure.
weight in 4 weeks. So that's that, So it's crazy what people think. So listen to what I said and go lose some weight or tell your friends about it.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me of just the other day I saw, and since you read Peter Thiel's book and you're kind of a fan of most of what he does, there was somebody quoting. I've never read anything Peter Thiel put out, but um, it was kind of quoting his nutrition advice and how there was like three different rules or three different ways to go
Levers.
about
Yeah.
it, and it's either restricting calories, restricting your feeding window, or restricting what you eat. And I thought that
Hmm.
was pretty cool. It was
Yeah.
like very simple, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, then he says either always pull one, sometimes pull two. Like if you're trying to make a change, pull 2 or 3 of those levers. So like, and then he said you should always be pulling one of those levers. So it's either calories, time. What was the other one? So like
Just
fasting.
like just man, I can't think
You
of it.
just said them. You nailed it.
Limiting, yeah, limiting what you eat. So taking out certain ingredients or certain
Oh yeah,
types of
yeah,
foods.
yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Well, hopefully that was enough for everybody. Let's move on to the cycle. I want to kind of talk about what we're doing. Couple of things. Did you want to start talking about strength?
Yeah, I got it all ready. So strength, this one, it just seems like this a lot happens after spring going into summer. It's going to be a lot focused on power and it being explosive for the most part. I think it starts off with a little bit of lighter weights, and then the accessory with that's going to be like a lot of cleans, hang cleans, regular uh, just barbell cleans and other of those movements. But I've also taken a little bit from this past hard to kill cycle and thrown in some IWT. So not as much as hard to kill
Nice.
did because this is still strength. So if you were looking for some sort of a transition going from that IWT to okay, I want to focus more on strength, there's still going to be one day of this IWT type that couplet to where there's a lift and then the 2 minutes of sort of high effort with the longer rest. That's going to be a part of it, and it's only going to be one and not two. So it's still it's going to be on 2 different days because the 2 main strike days, but it's only going to be one set of that versus 2 sets of that, like what Hard to Kill just done. So looking for a sort of transition from that. That's going to be the first sort of wave, and then we go into EMOMs, which I always have to program it once a year of a wave of straight up EMOMs of like 20 something minutes of a strength EMOM that the load progresses as you go through. And that's sort of the theme for strength.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we are starting new cycles, just so everybody knows. And we have the hard to kill track, we have the strength track, shred track, endure track. You can hop on any of these. There's 3 block, which is like a modified version of hard to kill. But big picture here is you got to go in knowing what your goal is. Like, do you want to get stronger? Go strength track. You want to build up your more like functional endurance? Go the endure track. You're looking for some body composition? Go shred track. If you're looking to be incredibly well rounded, go hard to kill. And I want to talk about a little bit what I'm doing on hard to kill. And this is my favorite cycle. I've almost done repeats. I've done I've done versions of it, variations of it, but this comes with a story. So in March 2018, my daughter was born, my third child. And I made a decision um, that this is my third kid, right? I'm not ignorant to what's about to happen to sleep and everything else and like what a kid can do just to your life in general, like for first year or so. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be perfect this cycle. Because she was born right at the end of cycle one for the year. We're rolling into the second cycle of 2018. And I was like, I am going to hit every training session in this program. And I did. I hit every single training session um, for that full cycle, even with a newborn and two other toddlers. And no joke, in the entire history of my training at Garage Gym Athlete, I have never seen more PRs across all the different domains that we test than this cycle, that this post Eleanor being born cycle. So I'm just going to call it the Eleanor. That's what this cycle is going to be called. So it is an old one and it is a repeat. And we don't ever normally do repeats, but I was re-looking at the programming and I was like, sometimes like, you want to think
Nailed it.
you can make it better. It's like, well,
Mhm.
but like, I reviewed it all and I was like, no, yeah, this is great. Like this is exactly what I need it to be. So we're doing that cycle again. And I mean it's everything that you should expect on the hard to kill track. Be like if people are wondering, like, hey, what's the focus? Well, we had IWTs this last cycle. So in Q2, like the second cycle. And I mean it was all good. Like I mean I absolutely love what we were just coming off of and I'm still doing it right now. But it's not as strength focused. And so I'm going to try and balance that out now. Like I'm always thinking like big picture over the course of the year. There is a lot more of a strength focus on this hard to kill track, not as much as the strength track, but more in hard to kill, like keeping you incredibly balanced. So there's still 50-minute runs. There's still 30-30s. There's endurance stuff going on in there, but then there's going to be a lot more focused strength days that don't have necessarily an IWT. And guess what was programmed back in 2018? Like it's in the first week. I just saw it right. I was like, IWT. There's an IWT in there. Like we've been doing it forever. And so anyway, that's what I'm doing this next cycle. Or that's what's being programmed at Hard to Kill. But I've gotten a lot of feedback on this current cycle that we're just rounding out or just have finished, I guess, as this is published for the Hard to Kill track. So this is more of like a team meeting, a recorded team meeting. Can we take that cycle, Joe, and turn it into a program in the program library? Is that easy to do? Is that something that's like you can do?
I think so. I remember when we just made the program library, it all happened like within a couple of weeks, and then it was just like, cool, we're good. And that was like 6 months ago. But
Yeah.
I think now that we have how we have it set up, and everybody's added to having the program library, I think I can just add it to whoever has access to all of that. Yeah.
I think so long as we go, and I don't want to get too into the weeds on the podcast, but I think if we save the 12-week cycle, then I think it can become in
Yeah.
the program library. So the reason
Once
I'm
it's
saying that,
updated, refreshed to 2024, not 2018 layouts,
what
because we did things
I'm
way different
talking
back then.
I'm talking about the cycle we just finished, the one we just
Oh,
finished.
the IWT cycle.
Yeah, the IWT cycle.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's the one that I've been getting all the feedback on. So what I want to do, and this is for everybody listening, because I want people to be able to partake in that, because a lot of people like that style of training, and I kind of love it too. But it's almost like this isn't exactly what the hard to kill track has been, but a lot of people love it, and I kind of love it. So what I want to do is I didn't want to program it again. Maybe I'll look at that for the fourth quarter and like make some changes of like what's happening this cycle with what happened last cycle and maybe kind of do some sort of hybrid approach. But I'm just like not sure where I want to land there yet. I need more time to think through it and look at things. So we're going to take that IWT program and we're going to put it, the one that we just finished, we're going to put it in the program library. So if you are a Garage Gym athlete, if you didn't know this already, we have a bunch of programs in the program library that you can go access right now. And so you can go in there and this was one that's going to launch with a new cycle. So if you're like, I'd rather do that IWT cycle you're talking about, you can go do that. But also we're going to be doing this Eleanor cycle from 2018 as a repeat for kind of the third quarter here in 2024. So that's
now we gotta have a name for it.
the IWT one.
Yeah.
Um,
VO2 maximum effort.
let me think it through. I can't do this on the fly. I gotta. These things they have to come to me. I don't want to rush it. But I think something like VO2 maximum effort would be a good
On brand.
option. Yeah.
Tentatively.
Yeah, tentatively. All right, cool. I mean, I'm not going to dive into Shred and Jerred as much because
Shred is Shred.
we have. Are
yeah.
you're good with that one?
I mean, so even with talking with VD who writes Shred, it's pretty much it's always the same sort of goal of body composition with some performance in there. So it's sort of you're still going to be getting the hypertrophy, you're still going to be getting the shorter sort of somewhat intense muscle taxing circuits, stuff like that. Endure also is fairly similar so that what it normally is, endurance focused. If you run 1 or 2 cycles of Endure in the past, Marco sort of has a style to how he programs.
A lot of muscular endurance.
Yeah, but and a lot of like longer circuits or some really high intensity like efforts. I will remark on the strength because that's the main thing that he changes cycle to cycle. It's looking like the start of this cycle you're going to be lifting pretty heavy, like 80-85% plus. So if you wanted to do some endurance stuff but still get some heavy lifts in, he is doing that.
Awesome. Yeah, and so everyone go look at the sample programming. Like we'll post it in the community, but also you can go check this out. You just go to garagegymathlete.com. We'll put a banner up at the top of the website this week. If you want to go check out the sample programming, you can download it. And the main thing I like for people to know, because getting into the weeds of like, oh, what lifts are we doing, all this stuff, you can check out the sample programming. If you are that type of person who's like, I really want to know what's going on, go check out the sample programming. But really, I think you should just think about what are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to do? I like hard to kill track because it keeps me super well rounded. If you're like, hey, I want to get really strong, go strength track. If you're looking for muscular endurance, you have like some sort of Spartan race, something like that, Endure track might be perfect for you. And if body compensation is your thing, where hey, I'm looking to look a certain way, I want to grow some muscle, my biceps need to be bigger, or I want to trim down a little bit, Shred's going to be the option. So that's typically my like overarching advice for everything on the Garage Gym Athlete, training. Cool. Yep. Well, got anything else before you get out of here, Joe?
Nope. No. Cycle 3, I got nothing.
Cool. Well, if you want to be a part of Garage Gym Athlete, go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a free trial. For all of our athletes doing cycle after cycle, staying consistent and seeing results, we really appreciate each and every single one of you. But that's it for this one. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.